How about we start with an easy one? How about you just tell us your name and what exactly it is that you do?
My name is Ellen. My name is Ellen, and I am a storyteller. I tell stories using paper and knives in layers. Yeah. I use small knives to cut out paper narratives, usually layers of paper on top of each other, and I make pictures that hopefully take people to other places. Whoa!
Woohoo!
Yes, it's finished! Oh my gosh!
So what have you just completed?
Just completed the desert scene. It's actually really sad. It's the last scene in the story, and it's just before Big Bear disappears into the wilderness. Big Bear, in 2 sentences, is about a bear who eats his friends. Big bear, walking in the forest, walking in the forest. Yeah, his hunger's overcome him, and he's taken out most of the animals in the forest. Yeah, so I guess it's the story of, it's sort of the story of sort of my worst fears, really.
You walk around, you play pretend, you try to make sense of it, but there's no end. The lights went out over an hour ago, and why you're not in bed, well, you don't know. Oh, you don't know.
So Big Bear's taken, it's been the last 3 months at Somewhere Studios, where I've been doing my artist residency, staying in late, cutting untold amounts of paper. I don't know how many hours. Before that, it's been about 3 years since I wrote Big Bear.
A lot of my work has a fairy tale feel about it. I think I really love the idea of fairy tales because to me they've always been a medium that is really accessible. When I think about the really old fairy tales that people used to tell that I guess were a bit darker and a bit grim, they were used to reflect the parts of society that people found hard to deal with, and maybe the parts of people's stories that were hard for people to express. The silhouettes, I think the most important part of the silhouettes to me is that idea of my audience being able to bring their own stories to what I make. Just the white paper, plain paper, I think it just leaves so much space and so much room for whoever's looking at it to bring their own association with those subjects or those landscapes.
went down to the stream where my mother used to sit with me. I would hide like the birds in the tree.
My practice is quite solitary, I guess. And the characters in my stories, or the main characters at least, are usually quite isolated or quite solitary beings. I think I really identify with those archetypes or those characters that have a problem or find themselves in a situation and have to find their own way out. I was a lot younger than my brother and sister growing up, and sort of 8 years behind, or so I felt. And I think in some ways I've always been sort of wanting to catch up. There's this part of me that really clings to that time of just wandering and of sort of withdrawing into those landscapes where I have time and where I have time and space to think about where I've come from and where I'm going. I'd like people who see my work to find solace in it. So much of the time I feel like my world outside, and even when I wake up in the morning and think about what I have to get done or the things that I get lost in terms of media or in my external world trying to grab my attention, are so fast and fleeting, and there's so much information all the time for me to take in. I think with my paper cutting practice being such a slow process, that involves just taking time literally to make work. I hope that, I guess, when my audience sees my work, that's something that they find as well, because of where my works come from and what it's taken for me to make it, in terms of being in that zone or being in that space where there is time and there is slow, and it's not free from, but I've definitely, I guess, had to push away a lot of the distractions of my external world, that I hope that when people see sort of the outcomes of that they can really get an understanding and a feel for what slowing down looks like and what it feels like to just sit with something that you know has taken a long time to be made. I hope that would bring people rest.
I went down to the stream where my mother used to sit with me. I would hide like the birds in the trees. When you're up so high, there is more to see. Down